it is going to blow everyone's mind as to how enlightening this conversation is. And I'd like you to start.
Okay, well,
it's all you.
Thank you. First of all, I want to comment on just how cute that snort was.
I don't snort.
You don't?
Oh, wait, it was recorded. I can't deny. That's
Thank
what I've
you.
always deny, and then.
Yeah, exactly. Plausible deniability.
Right.
Yes. Well, don't you like this theme of what we're talking about? So maybe it's not relevant, right? Because we have to know our audience, right?
Right. And that's what, looking at having a conversation that Richard Branson would love.
Right.
That's what Scott and I were like, oh, okay. So let's elevate it to something that someone who is very busy would stop and go, oh, that's inspiring.
So sometimes so no pressure there, keeping Richard Branson, yeah, right?
Right.
So maybe it starts with, how do you solve a problem? So maybe the impact starts out with a question surrounding what a problem is. For example, how do you make the biggest impact on a Zoom call, right? Or how do you craft a message that will be received to your audience? Or how do you define your audience to tailor your message, right?
Right. Well, I think for me, it's staying in the lane of what Center for Creators represents, right? Which is helping people to raise their vibration, understand what vibration is, understand the difference between vibration and frequency, and also being able to understand the difference between your inner self and a higher self. Being able to understand that, being able to understand the difference between thoughts. When people say thoughts are energy, it's actually the feeling that creates the energy and momentum. Being able to help people understand what society's misconceptions are, what limiting beliefs are, and how to not be hard on yourself when you are repeating patterns of behavior that aren't moving you forward. Maybe that's what we talk about.
So that's
Instead
an interesting.
of being hard on yourself, I'm always really proud of myself that I recognized it. Because to recognize it knows I'm making a change, because each time I recognize it, I am recognizing it sooner and sooner.
So there's probably some steps to that, right? So the first step is you just took is acknowledgement and awareness, right? That, for example, if you are having a bad habit with exercise, or let's call it diet control.
Or thoughts. I would go with thoughts. Right?
Okay.
Because that's what we work with, thoughts. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, thank you for bringing this back on track. So let's say you always have a thought in your head that, oh yes, I'm never any good at this, right?
Right.
That you, in public speaking, for example, and you get up and you go into public speaking and you stand up and give a speech and you bombed it for whatever reason. And then you tell yourself the story afterwards that, oh yeah, I'm not any good at this, right? That's your thought, that I'm not good at this.
Right.
So I think what you just said, if I understand it, because communication is talking, listening, and asking questions and getting clarity, right? Is that you come to an awareness that you just had that thought. That I was like, I just had the thought, oh no, I'm not any good at this. That's a
Correct.
thought, right?
Correct. And recognizing that the more you feel that thought, the more that's going to continue that outcome. You can shift that outcome. And how I would shift that outcome is starting in a thought process as far away from that. Because if you've already experienced it and it wasn't a beneficial experience for you, or an uplifting experience, you want to stay away, as far away from that thought as possible, because it's going to be really hard to find a good thought about it. So, and by thought, I mean the feeling. You can say a thought, but it's actually the feeling that you're generating that goes behind it. So where I would start with that is by stating, I am valued, I am respected, I am heard. Of course, people are going to love hearing from me. Of course, this is going to get easier and easier each time that I go on stage, each time that I talk to people in a group, each time it's going to get easier and easier. Everyone has bombed on stage. It was an experience. I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to grow from it. I'm going to evolve. And I would softly go into talking to myself in that way. And then just continue to understand, knowing that I have the ability to shift the outcome. So if I can talk myself into a soothing situation about speaking in public, I will be able to and recreate the story. Forget about that story. Forget about bombing. Recreate how you want it moving forward from here, and just slowly soothe it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so just to recap, so you're saying at first when you step off the stage and you bomb your public speaking gig, and you tell yourself—
feel it. I mean, you can't do this conversation right when you step off stage. You're going to have to just—
you feel that you bombed it, okay?
Right,
so
and that's okay. It's okay to feel that.
You feel that you bombed it, and now you're telling yourself that, oh, I'm no good at this, and you have these negative thoughts associated with this negative feeling, right?
Right.
Because there is a connection between thoughts and feeling. But then what you're saying is to pivot into positive, affirmational type of content, or not content, but positive affirmational words.
Internal thinking, speaking to yourself, your internal dialogue. And it's as soon as you recognize that you're going down a path of negativity, or a path of keeping yourself in that pattern that doesn't feel good, as soon as you recognize it, shift away from it. And don't ever be hard on yourself that you did that. Be really proud of yourself that you recognized it. Because a lot of people tend to be really hard and upset with themselves of, oh my gosh, I did it again. And it's to shift that to, wow, I just recognized that. I just recognize that's not what I want. And I have the ability to shift it. So turning that into a positive, instead of being hard on yourself that you had a negative thought. Because we're human. We are going to have negative thoughts. It's okay. But we want to recognize them as soon as possible and shift it.
And so part of this is just all about interpretation, right? That we interpret from the feelings that we have. Like we walk away from that public speaking gig and we feel we bombed. We feel it in our body. It's like, oh, I feel horrible. This wasn't fun. This wasn't a good experience. And because of that feeling in our body, we have an interpretation that we are no good at this. We're interpreting this information and this feeling in our body that is telling us a story that we're no good at this, right? Is that another way of looking at it?
Absolutely. And realizing that we're the ones who pre-paved that.
Right.
We're the ones who pre-paved in that situation, not being successful on stage. So to recognize that we have the ability to pre-pave a different outcome, right? If that's what you want, if that's what you want, if that's the path that you want to go towards, you absolutely have the ability to pre-pave it to be successful, and to recognize we can be successful at anything that we want. And it is our thoughts and our feelings, and removing limiting beliefs. First of all, recognizing when we're having limiting beliefs. That's the key, is to, like, I feel words, and I feel if something isn't uplifting or inspiring me, or if I begin to question myself or doubt myself. And it's being able to recognize that as quickly as possible and shifting it into something that, like what I do is, I go right back to, I am valued, I am respected, I am heard. Of course, people are going to want to hear from me. Of course, we're going to have fun in this conversation. It's going to be uplifting. It's going to be inspiring. But I'm not going into the fine details or aspects of the situation until I can do it where it feels good. Being vague felt really good. If I had hopped right into, I am amazing on stage, everyone's going to love me when I'm on stage, after I had just bombed, I'm not going to feel that, right? So it's
not going to
recognizing as you're soothing yourself up that emotional scale, right? And just so you can eventually get to visualizing and knowing everyone's going to love you on stage, right? But it's a process to get there, and knowing that's okay.
So you talk about pre-paving. So describe that process.
Pre-paving is, if you have, just as simple as if you have a meeting in the afternoon, I actually pre-pave my day every day before I open my eyes. Every day before I open my eyes, I just say to myself, all of my seeds have blossomed. They flow easily and effortlessly to me. Opportunities and increasing opportunities flow easily to me in increasing quantities all throughout the day. Allow the universe to surprise me in amazing ways that I've never seen before. And I pre-pave my day as vague as that, right? So I do that
with an affirmation.
Right.
I mean, I would call those affirmations.
Affirmation you can feel. I believe that's where a lot of people miss out on the affirmations. It's truly feeling and believing what you're saying.
Well,
so
that's
you have
the trick, right?
Right. That is the trick. So it's finding those words and continuing to elevate those words that you believe. Right. So it is that morning affirmation that I say for my day. And then if there's a meeting, I'm going to pre-pave the meeting before I go in there and go, this is going to be the most successful meeting. I am going to be so happy with the outcome. Everyone in the room is going to be so happy with the outcome. This is going to be joyous and incredibly beneficial and productive for all of us. Go in the meeting. I've just pre-paved the energy for the room. I don't.
So I guess the invitation is, go ahead.
I don't pre-pave specifics. I don't pre-pave, Joe is going to say this, Samantha is going to do this. I let the universe surprise me.
Yeah.
So that's,
well,
I don't.
That would be a recipe for disaster, yeah.
Right. I don't pre-pave that someone is going to sign the contract. I can pre-pave that this is going to be incredibly productive for all of us, and it's going to move me forward into what my purpose is, right? So I personally don't pre-pave specifics like that.
Good. So that's smart. So you have to, part of that pre-paving is really connecting with what you're saying and get to a very deep internal space where you believe this to be so, right?
And you feel it.
The
Right.
feeling.
You absolutely feel it. That's the most important thing. And that's why staying vague helps you really feel good. And by feeling it, when I say that, it just feels good to say it, is to help clarify that. It feels good when I say it.
So what do you do in a situation where someone is, let's use the same term, pre-paving, and they're not feeling it. They're not inspired. They don't trust themselves. They don't feel they're worthy, and they're trying to believe it. They're saying it. They're saying the words. They're trying to search for it, but it's not quite connecting to a feel good thing. So you can say all these words, but if you don't really believe it and feel it, it's not going to be powerful, right?
Right. That's where you become more vague.
Right. So, but even becoming vague, because all of us go through periods of time where, you know, where we might feel spiritually dry. We might feel, right? And so how do you take these times where you're feeling spiritually dry, you're not feeling the inspiration, you say these words, but you don't really believe the words yourself, but you're saying them anyways? What do you suggest to that?
Well, one, to again, to start to be as vague as possible, and to keep saying it. Keep saying it till you believe it. It's okay to fake it in that situation, right? To say, start with, everything always works out. Everything always works out for me, right? Start with along those lines. And with, and you just keep saying it until you can recognize and ask the universe to show me. Everything always works out for me. Show me how everything always works out for me. Show me what path I'm supposed to be taking. Give me a sign, and be aware of what the signs are. Once you start to see signs that are given by the universe, that's what helps you feel it. Or even just going outside and watching a bird or watching a butterfly helps you elevate that that belief. When you can just slow everything down and watch something that is absolutely beautiful, or experience nature, that to me, because now you're drawing me back to when I went through the divorce and I was probably at my lowest, and just being able to be in a quiet space of natural beauty and truly witness it. Be in the moment and soak in every ounce of that butterfly, every ounce of that tree, and the magnificence of it. And that will help you appreciate. And appreciation is something that you feel. It will bring you back to that feeling of being able to feel and being able to say, everything always does work out. It always does work out. And that will allow you to be able to feel that.
So that's a great tool. So, and that was a great answer to the question, is like, what do you do when you feel dry and you don't feel inspired?
And it happens. It happens to everybody. And it's knowing it's okay. It's okay. And we can evolve out of that.
Right. Yes.